Hello and welcome to FtBenning. We sincerely appreciate your interest in our recreational hunting and fishing program. Our primary mission focuses on protecting, conserving, and sustaining the natural resources on this installation to provide a realistic training environment for our soldiers. FtBenning is a premier training installation, preparing soldiers to deploy and fight across the globe. Training is our first priority. However, as training allows, and in accordance with the state seasons in both Georgia and Alabama, we allow year-round hunting opportunities for soldiers, retirees, DoD civilians, and the family members and guests of those authorized individuals. This short video is intended to introduce you to the policies and procedures you must follow to hunt safely and successfully on FtBenning. We cannot cover everything in this video, and it is your responsibility as a sportsman to review and comply with MCOE Regulation 190-11, the weapons policy, and MCOE Regulation 200-3, the hunting and fishing regulation.
Hey Jeff, good to see you, brother.
Hey.
Glad you can make it down.
Hey, thanks Sam.
Yeah, we got a couple things we need to take care of before we get out tomorrow, okay?
Sounds good. I've heard some of the best hunting and fishing's here on FtBenning. I just never really had the chance to come out here and hunt. Thanks a lot for the invite, definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. Like you said, we are on post. You won't be surprised to hear it's a little bit different. We got a few more regulations and procedures, but trust me, it's worth it.
Sure, just tell me what I need to do.
All right, well, any hunter, soldier, or civilian born after January 1st, 1961 has to complete a state-certified hunter education course and have their hunter education card so that they can purchase the FtBenning post-hunting permit and access pass. Did you bring yours?
Got it right here.
All right, great. Well, I usually buy the post permit here at the Outdoor Recreation Center, but you can also get it at the recreational shooting range. Now remember, you need both the post permit and the required state license. Since we're going to be on the Georgia side when we go out, obviously we need a Georgia hunting license.
No problem, got that as well.
All right. Also, since you're my brother, you're eligible to purchase an annual family member pass.
Hey, that's a pretty sweet deal for families.
Yeah, it is. And since I'm active duty and assigned to FtBenning, I can hunt and fish anywhere on FtBenning with either a Georgia or an Alabama license, just based on where I live.
Definitely a nice perk for active duty folks.
It is, but remember, it only applies if you're active duty and assigned to FtBenning. Otherwise, you need the appropriate state license based on where you're going. All right, come on, let's get your pass.
Okay.
Okay, this is your access pad, and this is the regulations, and this is the map you just purchased.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so we've got our post permit and we have our state licenses. We have to display the access passes in the windshields of our vehicle anytime that we're out in the field.
Okay, but how long are these things good for?
Well, the post permit expires every year on June 15th. New permits are made available each year on May 16th.
Well, hopefully you'll have me back out here. We can get another one next year.
Yeah.
So, wait, where'd you get the map?
Oh, the maps are available here in the Outdoor Recreation Center. It's really important that anybody hunting or fishing on FtBenning has a current copy of the hunting map. It contains all kinds of vital information, training area boundaries, closed areas, exclusion areas, and what weapons are authorized where.
Sounds great.
Yeah. All right, buddy, ride out with me. We got a couple more things that we need to take care of before we head out in the field tomorrow. First of all, there's a couple regulations that everybody has to know and comply with. I went ahead and printed them out for you, so read them tonight and make sure you know them tomorrow. The first one is this one. It's MCOE 190-11. That's the weapons policy. And this one is MCOE 200-3. This one covers hunting, fishing, and recreation.
Makes sense that FtBenning has such specific regulations on weapons. So what do I need to know?
Well, the weapons policy is totally different from hunting and fishing, and everybody must comply with it before you bring a firearm on post. Firearms can be registered down at the Provost Marshal's office or the PMO. Obviously, I've already registered my hunting rifle, but we'll head down right now and get yours taken care of.
Okay.
Morning. Can I help you?
Yes, sir. My brother Jeff needs to register his firearm.
Absolutely. Do you have his weapons registration form on you?
Got it right here, yes, sir.
Come on in. I'm going to introduce you to the desk sergeant, and then you can process it inside.
Okay.
Okay? Right in there.
Can I help you, sir?
Yes, sir. We just need to register my brother's firearm.
Can you just put it in the tray?
Thank you.
All right, sir, you're all set. Just keep that with the weapon.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that wasn't hard.
No, it's not a big deal. I mean, we are an Army installation after all, so we do have to be careful about firearms on post.
So where do you keep your guns?
Since I'm active duty, I'm allowed to keep my gun in authorized locations here.
You know, I've been looking for a place to zero in my rifle. Is there, you know, Granddad always said, always zero in your rifle when you go hunting. So is there a place on post where I can do that?
Yeah, we'll go there later today.
Okay, cool, sweet.
All right, so this is the recreational shooting range. It's a great place to zero your rifle because you can't do that in the training area. Perfect. You've got the registration in the case with the firearm. Like I said, that's the best place for you to keep it. As long as it's in there, you don't have to worry. There's a couple things to know about traveling with your firearm in your vehicle. First of all, it has to be unloaded. It has to be in a case, hard or soft, and then it has to be stored out of plain view. So it can be in the trunk, in a toolbox, behind a seat, something like that.
Now, what about a gun stock?
Now, a gun stock is not considered an acceptable case. Another thing to note, ammunition has to be stored separately from the firearm. So that means you can't keep the ammo in the same compartment as the gun in the case. All right, the only other thing to know, concealed weapons are never permitted on Fort Benning, and that's regardless of any state laws or certifications.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Okay, so you said something about a computer system for checking into different hunting areas. So how does that work exactly?
Well, there's a lot of activity on post. The conservation people just like to keep tabs on everything that's going on. That way they can, always improve the quality of hunting and fishing. We use a really simple automated system. It's got two parts. It's got an online component and then a phone component.
Man, I'm glad I don't have to figure this out on my own. So how does the system work?
It's easy. It provides user-friendly, color-coded data sheets. They tell you what training areas are available, what activities are authorized for each day of the week. Every training area is broken down using a numeric system that you can find in your hunting and fishing safety regulations. Just for an example, training area A1 would be 0101, B1 would be 0201, so on and so forth.
Okay, so the system helps you, find out what areas you can go to as well as what weapons you can use when you're in those areas?
Yeah, exactly. The other thing it does that's really helpful is it manages the number of hunters that are in each area. Clearly, we don't want a bunch of hunters hunting on top of each other, so if a particular training area is full for that day, it won't give you access to that compartment.
Okay, so what about bow hunting? Like, I've been really wanting to get my bow back out again.
Well, Fort Benning has an archery concurrent in training program. When you're using those areas, you're using them with training units, so it's just really important that you follow any specific instructions that are listed in those hunting and fishing regulations when you're a part of that program.
So is the system different for bow hunting in these areas?
No, not really. It's easy. You just make sure you dial 9 before the area designation when you're calling in on the phone. If you don't dial 9 before the area, they're going to tell you that that spot is closed and off limits.
Okay, so more about this phone system. Like, we find the area online, and then what else do we do?
Well, all sportsmen have to call in for the training area that they're going to be using. You just follow the instructions for signing in. It's very simple. Now, every once in a while, the phone system goes down. That doesn't mean that you can't use the area. You just have to make sure that there's an available spot on the sheet. When you do that, make sure that you leave a note in your windshield. That way we know what area is being used.
Okay, but say I'm having a really lousy day out there.
Yeah.
Am I stuck to my area?
No, not at all. You can only sign in to 2 areas at one time, but you're free to go back and forth between those as much as you like. There's not really a rule that says you have to sign out of an area once you leave, but I usually do. It's just good manners, lets everybody know what activity is going on in that area. Hopefully all hunters are going to do the same thing.
Gotcha.
Cool, well, let's go zero our rifles.
Hey Sam, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. But is there anything else I need to know before we go hunting tomorrow?
Study those regulations. Make sure you have those down cold. You already know about getting access to posts. You can only enter or exit through a command control point. Just keep that in mind.
Okay, yeah, I get that, but there's got to be some other rules, like about getting around on post.
Yeah, there's a few. They're all for your own good and for your safety. You can't drive around a locked gate or drive around a blocked access point in a vehicle. You can walk around a locked gate so long as that area is open for hunting. Another thing to be aware of is the no access restricted areas that are listed on your hunting map. So those are going to be shaded in red. They're definite no-goes. Nobody is allowed to enter there, and it's for good reason. These are permanent impact zones, so they contain unexploded ordnance, UXOs. I mean, it goes without saying, but don't pick up any munitions that you find here on post.
I know safety is a big concern on any post. Man, I don't remember Fort Benning being this busy.
Yeah, I mean, training and readiness are incredibly high right now. That means on a given day you can encounter thousands of soldiers at various points. You know, you always want to drive really carefully when you're driving on post. Speed limits are clearly marked and they're strictly enforced, so make sure you're aware of that. Be really careful if you're driving around military traffic or formations. If you do need to pass for formation, make sure you slow down to 10 miles an hour and use your emergency flashers.
You know, speaking of driving, I remember we passed some trees back there with like the white marks on them. What's that all about?
That's the red cockaded woodpecker. It's really important around here. The white marks signify trees where they have nests. They're a federally endangered species, so there are a lot of restrictions listed in that regulation. Biggest takeaway, just please don't hang a tree stand to the marked trees.
Gotcha.
All right, let's go get lunch.
Hey, sounds good to me. Well, it's looking like a good morning out here.
Oh, yeah, brother. I mean, there's never a bad morning out here, in my opinion. You read all those regulations last night?
Yep, sure did.
Good, so you know you've got to have at least 500 square inches of hunter orange anytime that you're in an area that authorizes firearms. If you come out here with just your bow, you don't have to do that, as long as you're in a bow only or archery concurrent with training area.
Now, what about hunting near buildings and roads? Because I saw some trucks down the way, parked by the road.
You can't discharge your firearm within 200 feet of a maintained road or any man-made structure. So for Fort Benning, a maintained road is classified as any road that supports two-way traffic. You also can't fire in the direction of those areas within 200 yards.
All right. And were you saying you wanted to go straight to the deer stand?
Just to reiterate for that, you have to have your safety harness when you're in your stand. I can leave my stand out there, but it has to be marked with my phone number and my name. If somebody wants to use the stand, they've got to call me before they use it. If I get there and somebody's in my stand, they have to vacate immediately.
All right. So how are we looking? Looking all right?
You got your orange, you got your safety harness. Yeah, I think we're ready to go.
All right. Sounds good then.
Yes, sir. Let's go hunt.
Sounds good.
All right, brother, I'm gonna quiz you a little more while we head out. Make sure you know everything. Don't get me in trouble.
Okay, so try me.
All right, what happens if you bag a deer? You gotta report it?
Yep, which is another good reason to use the automated system. You can call in and report your harvest to the dial-in telephone program, so you can report your turkey harvest or pig harvest or deer harvest.
Yeah, another good thing to know about that system, anytime you call in and you get the message, make sure you listen to the whole thing. They use that message to report all kinds of updated information. So you call in and the system answers, listen to the whole thing.
Okay, so we're legal, right?
Yeah, we've got our right state licenses. We've got our Fort Benning post permit and access pass. We have signed up for an open training area. We're good to go.
Okay, well, right, let's do it.
Yeah. Hey, did you see anything?
Yeah, I actually saw a small doe. It was too small to shoot.
Okay, good call. Well, let's head out and find another spot to hunt, but I'll ask you some more questions while we walk. We know that we already checked, so we know that we're in the right season, but let me ask you, does it make any difference since we're on Fort Benning?
No, the individual is to understand and comply with the state seasons, no matter what they're hunting.
Yeah, exactly. People get confused because Fort Benning is in part of Georgia and part of Alabama, but there are clear season dates laid out for each species. I'll tell you, our game enforcement personnel strictly enforce those season dates. And there are some differences from Georgia and Alabama, so tell me about bag limits.
Bag limits. really testing me here. Let's see. Each state has its own set of bag limits, but Fort Benning has an established set of bag limits.
Yeah, just one set.
Oh, and it's found on the, I think it's the harvest card?
Yeah,
Harvest card.
exactly. Bag limits for Fort Benning may be more restrictive than state limits, so you can always find that in the regulations. One good thing is that Fort Benning is a quality deer management installation, so that means that all antler deer have to meet quality deer management restrictions. That means they have to have at least 4 points 1 inch or longer on one side of their antlers.
Okay. Yeah, I've read something about Fort Benning allowing youth hunts.
Yeah, there are some special restrictions or exceptions for youth hunts. Those are found in the regulation.
And I bet that Fort Benning probably wants matured does harvested as part of the QDM.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. You know, I bet there's a lot of hogs and turkeys out here.
Yeah, in the spring you can harvest up to 3 male turkeys. You got to remember when you are hunting turkeys, you've got to plug your shotgun so that it holds a maximum of 3 shells. Now you can't hunt hogs during turkey season, but when that is allowed, there's no limit.
So I take it you got to report hogs too.
Yeah, turkey and deer have to be recorded on your state hunting license as well as your Fort Benning hunting license, but turkey, deer, and hogs all have to be recorded using the automated system. Failure to report or record your harvest can result in a citation, and we can use or lose our hunting privilege.
Hey man, I'm by the book, and I want to do what's right, and I definitely don't want to get you in trouble since I'm your guest out here. And plus, it's it's good for safety and conservation and management, so it's all good.
All right, let's see. Since you are by the book, let's quiz you again. Do you ever have to check your harvest?
Sometimes. Fort Benning collects data on harvested deer. I think it was, several days during the year, and so you can find the list of dates in the regulations, so that way you know when you have to come in and check your deer, your harvested deer at the check stations. I noticed you had a couple tarps back here.
Yeah, if we are lucky enough to harvest an animal, it has to be transported out of plain view of the public. The conservation branch has set up a cleaning station. Hunters who use that have to clean up after themselves. Now, like if you're like me and you're an on-post resident, you can clean your harvested game at your quarters, but again, you have to do it as quickly as possible and as discreetly as possible so that you don't offend the neighbors. All right, now, how can you dispose of a carcass on post?
Okay, let's see. You can dispose of carcass on post in any open area compartment. All you have to do is you have to sign into that open area, and then you can dispose of the carcass. As long as it's 50 yards away from any roadway.
Right.
And you can't put it in any waterway.
Right, right. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, this is important because it's different from Georgia state law, but hunting over bait is illegal here.
Yes, right. It's strictly prohibited on post.
Let's see what else. You can't hunt pigs at night or with dogs.
Yeah, I understand that Fort Benning has its own game enforcement officers.
Yeah, the game enforcement officers establish checkpoints throughout the training compartment, so we'll see them on a regular basis. During the season, you should be expect to be checked multiple times. And
they can issue tickets too, right? Whether you're military or civilian?
Oh yeah, they can issue citations for any violation of state law or Fort Benning policy. That can result in a variety of fines and suspensions. For military, some violations are punishable under the Uniformed Code of Military Justice. You don't want that. All right, I got another spot. Let's go check it out.
All right. Ooh. Man, that's a great spot.
Yeah.
I never thought about fishing out here until you said something about it the other day.
Yeah, man, Fort Benning has some great fisheries. You've got the river, you've got the ponds, you've got our small lakes.
I was reading in the regulations for hunting and fishing that a lot of the same rules are the same for fishermen. They apply for fishermen, I mean. You're required to have a appropriate state license, fishing license, and you also have to have a Fort Benning's Post fishing permit. Unless, of course, you want to just fish in the Chattahoochee, then you can just have an Alabama or Georgia State fisher license.
Yeah, you can fish the river, you can fish several of the small ponds. Just like hunting, it's important to check the open areas link that we talked about yesterday. That way you're just sure that the pond that you're fishing is open for fishing. All right, what about catching fish?
Seriously? We're not even fishing today.
No.
Okay, well, there's creel limits posted on every pond. And well, it's important to read the regulations for fishing and hunting at each pond, because they may, vary on dependent upon which pond you're at.
Yeah.
And if you're going to use watercraft, you have to read the regulations for the safety equipment.
Right. All right, well, let's go scout another area.
Sounds good. Cool. A nice thing about being out here that I noticed is there's no trash around. It's a real clean area, and that's awesome.
Oh yeah, well, we take pride in the posts and in the fisheries and the areas where we hunt. Just say, leave it nicer than you found it. Obviously, littering is illegal, just completely unacceptable. The only thing I tell people that I bring out here is clean up after yourself after you're done hunting or fishing. It's easy. Let's go.
We hope you found this video useful. Please remember, it does not cover everything. It is your responsibility to review and comply with MCOE Regulation 200-3 and 190-11. Doing so will ensure that all of our recreational users have a safe and enjoyable experience while in the field on Fort Benning. Good luck and be safe.